So it's a bit rainy and a bit horrible, but my beloved BMW goes back to BMW soon, so I wanted to give you a bit of a what I like and what I don't like about the BMW before it goes back. So without further ado, let's get going.
You are now watching Chad 76 Media.
So it is, what we're in, mid-October, and my trusty R12 NineT goes back to BMW shortly. So it's time to say goodbye, my friend. We've had it, I think, about 6 months. We've done 3,236 miles. That'll be a little bit more before it goes back, probably like 3,500. We've done a bit of commuting, dashing around York and Howden and places like that. We've done North Yorkshire, we've done the Lake District, we've been down south once or twice, down to Thruxton for BSB, Cadwell Track Day, a little bit of two-up riding, both with my wife on the back and with my son, who's only 10, he enjoys going on the back. So I think it's like a pretty thorough test of the bike. We've had not fitted any parts to it because I just don't feel like it needed any parts fitting to it. I thought when I rode this bike in Spain on its world launch, when it came with a Continental rubber, I thought, well, I'm gonna have to change the rubber, get something more sticky or maybe something more sporty, but they're actually pretty good. I've been quite impressed. I was impressed with them around Cadwell, just dropped the tyre pressures and that was it. Oh, take this steady because it's a bit damp and slippery. So yeah, I was impressed with them at Cadwell. They're not a race tyre, but they was more than capable of taking on Cadwell for the day. I've done, 3,300 miles. They're still legal, and I've been really heavy on them. I've not done any burnouts or anything like that, but I have, used the bike till its full potential, let's say. Let me just get the heated grips on it. It's a bit fresh. So, should we start with negatives? Negatives for me, the price, it is expensive. We'll flash that price up on the screen because this is full spec with all the bells and whistles, so it isn't cheap, and there are other bikes in this category that are cheaper, but it is quality. You see that when you're on the bike, you feel that when you ride it. The multi-adjustable suspension was really impressive at Cadwell. Every little change I could feel, and we played around with that quite a lot. The remote preload, which is on the right hand side, that's dead easy to get to. The switch gear, the feel, the levers, the wheels look beautiful, beautiful, beautiful wheels. So yes, it is expensive in this category, but it feels beautiful and it looks beautiful and you feel that quality. Normally I would ride a bike all winter, and I will ride a bike all winter. I've got my own bikes that I'll ride all winter. But this bike is known to be my BMW. It's full of chrome. It is expensive, and as much as you try and keep on top of it and try and keep the bike clean, you never kind of really do. So it's heading back to BM. Hopefully somebody will enjoy it just as much as I have. I'm getting 130 miles, 120 miles to a tank depending on what you're doing. So it's a bit wet through there. Fuel 48 if I'm abusing it. If I'm tickling it, well above 50, sometimes even 60. Steering's kind of nice and light. There's a nice balance to it. It's essentially got a 1200 GS engine, so if you've ever ridden a 1200 GS, especially off-road, you know that all the weight is low and it's kind of got a nice underslung balance and feel to it, and this has got exactly the same. There's a real nice ease and access and use. The seat's relatively low, even though it looks like a big bike. It's not actually that intimidating when you come to actually ride it. It's it's nice. It's got a nice feel to it. It's user friendly. Oh, bit of mud and wet on the road. That's always a good thing. Thanks, Traxxer Men. Continental tyres have worked well. Did okay at Cadwell. They are road tyres, not race tyres, but they did good. I can smell diesel and there's a broken down truck. So it's going to roll off in case there's diesel everywhere. Yep, it's dropped diesel. Something's gone wrong with that. But yeah, the tyres are good. I didn't change them. I thought I was going to have to, but I haven't. I have thoroughly enjoyed the bike. As I say, I didn't know what to go for, because I'm in a very privileged position where I can pick and choose almost what I want, and I wanted something different because I get excited about sports bikes. I love riding sports bikes, but that's quite easy to do. So I thought, let's try something a bit different and see if that excites me as well. But it's a bit rainy, and it has done. I've really enjoyed it, especially where I live on these roads. Oh, I must be riding the invisible bike today. Kid. Yeah, loved it. Really, really loved it. Really enjoyed it. In terms of competition, there's quite a bit out there, and most of it is cheaper, but I think the level of finish and the detail on this bike is second to none. I really like the finish and the detail. I think it looks brilliant. I think you can personalise it. Well, it doesn't look like a bike that's come off a production line. It looks like something personal. So we've done some negatives. Let's do some positives. Well, I'm kind of running out of superlatives. I think the engine, air-cooled boxer, basically an old GS engine, so we know it's punchy, we know it's reliable. The fueling is really nice, way better than an old GS. If you compare it to something modern, it's a little bit clunky on the gearbox, because it is essentially an old GS engine. It's not a new 1300 water cooled, it's not even the 1250 engine, it's just the old 1200. So the quick shifter is a little bit clunky, the gearbox is a little bit, and the fueling is a little bit. It feels like a bike of a few years old, but I kind of like that. It gives it a bit of a rasp, it gives it a bit of character, and I know this engine is going to be absolutely 100% reliable. And it sounds good as well. You get like a nice air induction noise, like a blah when you gas it. And it's all about the torque. You just don't need to rev it. Even when I was on track, I wasn't revving the bits out of it. Like the whole mountain section at Cadwell was all third gear, a couple of nice wheelies with the traction switched off. And when you ride it 2 up and you just need to tickle the revs, you just like 2,000-3,000 RPM. It's lovely. I find myself hardly ever changing gear on the thing. I mean, 30 miles an hour, 5th gear, 2,000 RPM. Pulls as clean as you want. It is beautiful, beautiful engine. There's only 3 rider modes. To be honest, I've rarely used them. I've probably flicked into rain mode twice, and that's probably only when I'm running low on fuel. Dynamic I used on track, but 95% of my riding has been in road, the standard road mode. The traction control is dead easy to switch off, which I like. Switch it on and off on the move, do what you want with it. None of this having to stop and press 50,000 buttons to change anything. Heated grips, oh, what a godsend they are. Got them on number 3 today, so it's 1 out of 3. If you've got them on 3, that is toasty warm. It is proper warm. Like, I've only got little gloves on today, even though it's cold and damp, because I've got these toasty grips. That's all you need. Other negatives, I think, on his mild things like the fuel tank, it looks lovely, but you can't get a magnetic tank bag on it. It's keyless ignition, and the switchgear and everything is beautiful, but then you still have to use a key for the fuel cap, and you still have to use a key for the steering lock, and that looks, I think, just a little bit clumsy, having that key there for the steering lock, even though it's a keyless ignition. What I thought was going to be a negative was the Continental rubber, because when I rode the bike in Spain on Continental rubber, I was surprised that BMW chose Continental as the tyre for this bike. But then I've done a track day at Cadwell Park, I've done 3,200-ish miles, and these tyres have been really good. Wet, dry, Cadwell Park, everything. They're not a race tyre, they're just an everyday average road tyre, but they've performed pretty well, and we've still legal, and I think they probably last 4,000 miles. And bear in mind, I give this a hard time, very much a hard time. Rider aids are exceptional. It's very easy to turn the traction on and off. When the traction interferes, you can feel it kicking in. That's very nice. The Brembo stoppers are really strong and really good. No fade at Cadwell Park. Lovely feel when you ride the bike on the road. You've got Corian ABS, which is really, really impressive. Very, very strong braking. I was out braking some sports bikes in the medium group at Cadwell. They are exceptionally strong brakes. The engine, the torque, the power delivery is lovely. It's an air-cooled lump. I think it looks great. And it's basically an old GS engine, which we know is phenomenally reliable, really strong. That'll last for 100,000 miles. But it's all about the torque on this bike that I really love. It's got so much torque and so much drive. Really nice when you ride it also 2-up, because you can just use a real high gear and you don't have that headbutting scenario when you're always changing gear. Quick shifter works really well, really nice, really smooth, very efficient. Switch gear, detailing, clocks are really nice. Some people when I've stopped have said, oh, I think those clocks are a little bit small, but I think they're pretty informative. I think they're really clear. I really like the clocks. Difficult to get the seat off, that's a bit of a negative. Difficult to keep on top of it, to keep clean, because those chrome pipes take some work to keep clean. The fly screen is literally a bit of an afterthought. It doesn't really do a lot. When you're cruising with the cruise control set, I normally set it between 75 and 85. Anything above 85 miles an hour is a bit of a pain in the butt. As you can tell, that link pipe is so incredibly difficult to keep clean. I'm just about to go give it a full clean and a look over before it goes back to BMW. But everything else, yeah, I've been hugely impressed by this bike. I didn't think it would impress me as much as it has. So to summarise, BMW's R12 NineT, apart from the long convoluted name, thoroughly enjoyed my 6-7 months with it and nearly 3,500 miles. I think it's really comfortable, a lot more comfortable than I thought it would be. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I love the torquiness, ease of use of the engine. Fueling is really, really sublime. Quick shifter works well. Brakes are race bike quality, very strong. On track you can have some fun, but I did start to run out of ground clearance, as you'd expect from this type of bike. Torque, power, delivery, comfort, looks, style, there are a lot of positives, and I'm trying to think in this class, would I have another bike in this class above it? I don't honestly think so. The negatives, it is expensive. The keyless thing with the ignition and the fuel cap when you've got a keyless fob, that's a little bit strange. It is, I wouldn't say difficult, but you do spend a lot of time trying to keep on top of the cleanliness. And it is expensive, but especially in this spec. But again, I mean, the wheels are just beautiful. The level of finish, the detailing, really, really nice. And it's just like the little things, like having the remote preload here, which is dead easy to get to. Having really strong Brembo brakes, having fully adjustable suspension. And when I played with the suspension on track, you can really feel the differences. The switch gear is simple and easy to use. It's just a really high level of finish. It is beautifully put together and beautifully finished. But this will be replaced by something new and something a bit different. Hope you've enjoyed my little updates and reviews. As I say, we've done quite a lot, we've had some fun, and yeah, we'll bring something along next. If you've got any questions about the bike, please fire them below, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
It is pretty cold, it is pretty wet, but at least it's worth getting out on the bike. Got the heated grips on, got the Knox waterproof winter layer, and I think there's a Greggs up here. What's better than a Greggs sausage roll when it's a bit cold and a bit grim? I think they're about 1,000 calories per sausage roll, but consider I'm not going to do any racing for the rest of this year, I think I can treat myself. Greg Mondo's. Oh, Greggs. Women get sponsored by Greggs.